Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today I've got the good fortune to be interviewing Todd from turbulentmoney.com. Todd was 18 when he first became the business owner or operator of a company. Long before the giants like Blockbuster and Rogers Video rolled into town, Todd saw the market for renting videos and saw a chance to become his own boss. A few years later, he worked for three of the largest financial companies in the world. His experience led to the formation of his own startup business in his garage, building a software and hardware company, which he eventually grew to over 50 employees. Todd, I'm going to let Todd tell you the rest of the story. He is from turbulentmoney.com. We are thrilled to have him on the show. Todd, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Seth.
All right. So how did you saw the market for renting videos, you started and then how did you go from renting videos to working for the largest financial companies in the world?
Well, I mean, it started where I was renting videos. I was pretty young, and I was building up a video store in Vancouver. It was actually off Southwest Marine Drive there. And anyhow, I went into an area where there really wasn't, a lot of stores and so forth. So it was a lot harder to build my base, but I did build the base. This was before 24-hour video, Blockbuster, all those guys were around, which most of them are no longer around today. Anyhow, basically, I got offered a buyout, and of course I was, a little cocky back then, and I'm going to make more money, I'm going to turn it into a big empire, and I had to look back on it that, I probably should have taken the buyout, but in reality, what we do is, we learn from mistakes and we grow, and, that's what I did. And eventually I decided I wanted to get into, my passion, because I started trading when I was 16. Actually, I started skipping a class in school because I got advanced grade when I came to British Columbia. And when I was skipping this class, the teacher, kind of, Mr. Moffat said, go ahead, you're probably going to learn way more down there at the stock exchange than you are in this class anyway.
Wow.
Because the class that I was taking was I was using it as a filler, it was about typing and, using the calculator real fast and it's come in handy for, doing trades and stuff like that. But anyhow, it was really, a simple course. And after about 3 months, I already knew it all. So I was like pretty bored. So again, I started skipping and my English class, because I was a little upset with my English teacher at the time. But anyhow, I would go down to the stock market, and I loved the chaos. I was just fascinated by it, and I thought, geez, this is what I want to get into. So that's what led, going into the markets and becoming a broker eventually. But at the beginning, when I first got into it, I went and saw a fellow at Yorkton Securities, and he says, well, why don't you learn about the companies themselves? Why don't you learn about, the background of the companies? You're going to learn way more. That's actually a better route to go. So that's what I did, and I was fortunate. I got hooked up with some of the, the great people out there. It was Robert Hunter. He was inducted into the Miners Hall of Fame. And, I worked on one of his projects, and I worked with a fellow by the name of Terry Lashman too as well. And, he's a great, terrific guy, learned a lot from him. They were all about my age today. So most of my friends in the industry, mentors, were a lot older than me. This is what I learned at a young age. I wasn't going to learn a lot from people that didn't have the experience in the markets. And, of course, that's what happened at an early age. There's a lot of times, when I would make decisions, sometimes it would be bad decisions or the wrong decisions. When you're young, lots of times you can become naive. And so I decided, well, I don't want to take, a hard way in life. I'd like to speed up that process. And to speed up that process, what I did was, again, had great mentors. And then, I continued along the course of also running some companies too as well. Became, a chief operating officer all the way up to CEO of different organizations, different companies out there. And it gave me a lot of experience in the industry. There was a lot of pitfalls along the way, but I learned a lot of things in the market.
That is that. I mean, if that hasn't filled a book already, the longer version of that story, if it hasn't filled the longer version of that, if it hasn't filled a book already, it should. I'm sure there's a lot more that you didn't have time to go into. So let's talk about. So you started trading, you started working on the floor of the exchange, and then you started another company. Tell us a little bit about how that got you to where you are, what you're doing now.
Okay, well, I didn't actually work on the floor of the exchange. I saw all the chaos down there, and I worked for the financial firms out there. But to where I am today, I guess, I just kind of wanted to more or less work for myself. I work for a lot of corporations, and, you just see, this is what I talk about in my book too, you see a lot of corruption. It's not only in politics, it's in, corporations, religious organizations. It goes, there's a lot of corruption out there. And so, and I talk about this, and so I wanted to be, in charge of my own destiny. In other words, whenever I pull the trigger, whenever I do anything in the market, it's up to me. I own it, right? And, some days it's hard. I'm looking at, well, geez, I'm maybe taking a drawdown in the market or whatever, but, I know where my exit points are. I know, where I'm going to get into the market or out of the market. And then, building, another business. I mean, the book itself is a business, but but what I like doing is I want to help people, speed up the process. I've been fortunate. I've helped a couple younger individuals, point them in the right direction. And, these are pretty young individuals, we're talking 16, 17 years old, and point them in the right direction and follow your passion at an early age. I mean, sometimes it can be difficult because you got to have people that support you. I mean, that was one of my biggest obstacles is a lot of times is you have people that, say you can't do it. Oh, you're wasting your time or, because a lot of times the money doesn't flow right away. And that's a lot of people's mistakes is you're chasing the money. So, when you're chasing that money, it's it could take a lot longer and, you'll have disappointment. So what you got to do is set a realistic goals, realistic time frames, and, look at how you're going to, market your business or yourself.
That makes a lot of sense. What have been some of the biggest challenges you've overcome along the way? Because you've had such an interesting road to success, and what did you learn from them?
Well, again, believe in yourself. I mean, your biggest enemy is yourself. I mean, I found that, a lot of times it can be really hard. Entrepreneurs can be very hard on themselves. You want to hit goals, and a lot of times you can set pretty lofty goals, and if you're not achieving them, you all suddenly, you start getting down, right? So you got to have people that support you, that are around you, that surround you. And, you got to be properly capitalized. And, you just got to market yourself too as well. And, these are a lot of things, and, having a good mentor out there, and also, reading lots. I mean, I self-educate myself a lot.
Absolutely. Those are great pieces of advice. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Best advice that I've ever gotten was, just go for it. Set realistic goals and just go for it. But, don't set them too high, because if you can't achieve them, you'll, like it says, you'll be disappointed. And then when you hit your goals, this is another thing that, I was told is reward yourself. In other words, have something that, you go on a trip or you go on a vacation, you do something, because, we all get caught up, and especially as entrepreneurs. I mean, we can work pretty long hours, and today, I mean, I have a cutoff time, right? I start at a certain time, I cut off at a time. Some days, you'll get caught up in things, you have to write an article or whatever. And if that's the case, sometimes you're going to be up a lot later. Your hours may vary, but because you're an entrepreneur and you're working for yourself, you can adjust your hours. You don't have to be, so concrete on something. Like, in other words, last night, if you work till midnight, you don't have to sit here and say, well, geez, I got to get up at 5 a.m. today, because that's when I always get up, right? Get up at 9. Right? But just be flexible. That's another thing, is being flexible.
Those are great tips. We live in turbulent times, obviously, so Turbulent Money, great name for the book. How are you, what are you doing in terms of managing money now?
Well, basically, as far as managing money now, I mean, you know, I manage our own money. We've grown it, you know, pretty good, at a pretty good level. We're pretty happy with it. But again, you know, it's, I guess what I've learned over time too is everything's kind of proportionate to how large you start growing things. Stated this before that, you know, as a trader, you could go into drawdowns, and as you go into a drawdown, you know, at the beginning, let's say you're in 5 figures at the beginning, and then you get up to 6 figures. Well, you might take a drawdown of, you know, give an example, 10 grand or 20 grand. And then, you know, you pass over into the 6-figure marks, and now you're taking, you know, maybe 30 or 40 grand. And then all of a sudden you're into the millions, and as you keep going, your fluctuations are going to be bigger, and all of a sudden you're looking, wow, you know, I'm taking a $750,000 move here, right? So everything is proportionate to really what you're trading. That's where you can't let it, you know, scare you. As you start moving up, you know, the figures, of course, are going to get bigger. And a lot of us, I mean, that's what I've been guilty is of self-sabotage. It's you get scared of it. You know, I've learned this from, you know, a mentor I listened to before, is we set this thermostat in our mind. As soon as we reach that level, you know, it shuts off. We can't get past it, right? So this is, you know, you got to also widen that thermostat up. Say, well, you know, I want it set up here. You want it a lot higher, because if it's not, again, you'll self-sabotage yourself into not having that success.
Absolutely. How do you manage your emotions when you're talking about swings that big?
It's balance. I mean, you know, I make sure I get enough sleep. I make sure, you know, I eat right. My wife is great because she's call it the fitness girl. She's pretty healthy, right? So she's very fit. She goes to the gym regularly. I try to get there regularly. I don't. I'm guilty of that. I need to, you know, of course, this year, that was the whole idea, is I want to get more fit. And then, of course, eating right and just balancing other things, like, in other words, the mental mind too as well. And, you know, I read programs. I listen to tapes like Dr. Conte. You know, I have a counselor I see, because we all got to be healthy. We all deal with issues, whether today or whether in our past. And what I mean by that is, being a child, you might have, you know, experienced trauma, you know, seen, say, a horrible accident or something that's stuck in your mind, or, you know, you knew people that died at an early age, or today, you know, everybody unfortunately passes away. And of course, when we lose someone, that's hard. And of course, when we lose somebody that we love, it's very difficult, and that could, you know, affect our whole business. And what I've learned too is, you know, I just shut things down. When there's something too traumatic in my life, I just shut things down, right? In other words, I'll put my automatic stops in there. I let everything go on, you know, just automatic mode.
That makes sense. That's a good self-protection and self-care strategy. What would you say, what are you looking for the future? What is the next 5 years look like for Turbulent Money?
Well, I guess it's just, you know, getting my name out there more, and also building my business, and helping other people, you know, establish their goals and dreams. Specifically, you know, if you want to become, you know, a trader, you want to work for yourself. I mean, you know, it's not specifically just a trader. I mean, you know, I've worked in different businesses, startups, a lot of startups too as well. But it's just, you know, following what you want to do and helping those people and grow my business. And also, you know, at one point in time, I was looking at, okay, you know, maybe I want to run a fund or something like that. But I'm pretty happy with what I do. You know, I build to a certain level, and you know, really, I guess at the end of the day is, I don't know if I'll go down that path, but right now I'm happy where I'm at. And so
awesome. Anything else you want to share with our viewers and listeners that I didn't think to ask you?
Yeah, just, you know, basically go for it. I mean, you know, being an entrepreneur, you just gotta do it, and have great mentors, read a lot. You know, there's a lot of great books out there that I read. Reading is an important thing. I mean, obviously, every successful person out there, if you look at it, the stats, they read regularly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've been here with Todd from Turbulent Money. Todd, is turbulentmoney.com where you want them to find you?
Yep. Turbulentmoney.com is our site. Our book is available at Amazon, Indigo chapters, you know, a lot of the regular channels out there.
All right. Todd, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again, Seth.